the American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
2016, year of the snake. It's time for a change in the White House, y'all. Liberty. Bring it.
How's it going, Ron?
If you want a real deal, then we gotta get a real leader. Want a real leader, then we need a real man. Build a wall, deal with all them terrorists. America needs a man that can.
That's right, my friend. Keep America great. How's it going, Anne-Marie? How's it going, Brittany? How's it going, Becky? How's it going, Mario? Better view of the flag on this side. Less this flag. Good thing we have the tree. Good thing we have the tree. Let's go, Chris. Let's go, Kane. Just doing a few quick shares like we like to do.
Army Rangers and the Navy SEALs all stand strong with the art of the deal.
Like we like to do. All I did was switch sides of the thing. I didn't do anything super special. Just switch sides. We do that sometimes.
Make America great again. Make America, make America great again. Make America, make America great again. Time to make America great again.
We'll just share to our few pages here we like to share to. Forging freedom. Overpresses for America, we love them.
You like having the right to bear arms, protect your family? What about the ability to work a job, have jobs available to work?
Oh, we're going to talk about jobs.
You know who we need? His name starts with a D and ends with a Trump.
Apparently, that was exactly who we needed. Love my Trump. Love my Trump. And of course, our good friends are continuing for 12.
Make America, make America great again. Make America, make America great again. Make America, make America great again. Time to make America great again.
Thank you, folks. Thank you. Welcome to the show. In fact, alien sharing is caring, so please do share the show because, you know, how else are the trolls going to know? I don't think they get notifications either. I don't think anybody notifies the trolls, which is why they get here so late every day. So late. I understand. We want to help out. We want to help out every way possible. Welcome to the show. You are watching Trump Talk US live in DC with Suzzanne Monk. I'm Suzzanne Monk. We are live 20 minutes away from the nation's beautiful Capitol building, 24 minutes away from my president's White House, President Donald J. Trump, the best jobs president God ever created. Do you remember when Trump said that? And everyone was like, oh, he's so arrogant. He's so arrogant. He's not gonna. How could he even know that? Because he's Trump. Because he knows what kind of businessman he is. Because he knows how to make jobs. He knows not how to make jobs as a president, how to help businesses make jobs by getting government out of the way. What? What? Getting government out of the way? Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Yeah. So, President Trump's new job numbers are coming out. Apparently, the job numbers are so good, they ran out of words to describe how good these job numbers are. They ran out of words, people. There's a lot of words in the English language that describe good. We ran out of all of them. That's how good the job numbers are. The mainstream media's only hope, their only hope to find something negative to say, how's it going, Audra? To say, how's it going, Susan? Are only, the other way they could say anything, I don't know what that means, Barbara, is to say that they're upset at Trump because he hinted at the good job numbers. Wait for it. It's treasonous. 69 minutes. 69 minutes before the job numbers were supposed to come out, Donald Trump hinted there were going to be really good job numbers. It's a travesty, people. It's a travesty how he's just running around, defying protocol. This is all the news has. This is all the news has because, and they know it's all they have, and the Democrats, frankly, the Democrats are in trouble. All right? Because as we all know, as the phrase always goes, and this is why we called it this today, we called this episode, it's the economy, stupid. As we all know, when it comes to getting the regular, average, everyday, I don't really pay attention to that much, I just want my country to work so that I can work, voters out to the polls to elect or re-elect, more importantly, a president, it's the economy. It's the economy, stupid. That's why they said that phrase. That's why it's true. Because, look, there's you and I, okay? And we get involved. We get involved in the politics. We get involved following our president. There are many people who joined. We are what is called a wonk. A news wonk. W-O-N-K, wonk. All right? I'm a wonk. Always been a wonk. Love the news. Before President Trump, there were not a lot of people who would be wonks. Okay? We were a small group of people, of nerdy people. We were those people when you were out in the world. You might have been out after work having a beer. You might be talking over brunch with your friends. We were the ones who went, oh, did you hear about the new thing that the government did, da-da-da-da-da, that we don't like? Nobody had heard of it. What? They did what? Whatever. I have a job. My job's okay. I just got to keep my nose down. Keep it to the grindstone. I don't worry about all this other stuff. Wonks were a rare thing. And then came Trump. Now, as a wonk, it was a little bit annoying at first. Because all of a sudden, all these people who thought they knew everything about politics were jumping into the fray. They didn't know anything about politics. They had no idea what they're talking about. We've been talking about it, us wonks, for a very long period of time. So it took a minute of adjustment. Okay? But once we realized that these wonks were actually fellow Trump supporters, that we were going off of the old system, wonks and everybody else who doesn't care, and we were going to Trump supporters and everybody else who doesn't care, or everybody else who hates the president. 3 groups now. 3 groups. Once you get used to that, you're like, all right, there's a lot more people to talk to. And I go, hey, did you hear what the president did today? Da-da-da, it was great. And somebody's like, yes. And all of a sudden, being a wonk got a little bit more fun, a little bit less lonely. It was good times. It's good times. But what we've found over time is that it has actually divided up into 3 groups. The 3 groups of what I want to talk about right now. Wonks, which became Trump supporters. People who care about the country, care about what's happening, care about policy issues. positions, actions, executive orders, what the press secretary said that day. All of these facts we cared about. A lot of us started to care about. They also started to care about it on the I hate Trump side. And they started caring about it too much. And then the news started giving them worse and more. I mean, the news already gave them pretty fake news, but the news started giving them faker and faker news, more and more fake. How's it going, Debbie? And then they started only caring about the fake news, and they quit caring about the facts and policies and all the things that us Trumpers knew was happening, which is, of course, why we have Trump Talk US. However, that third group, that group of people who used to be the people who didn't care what us wonks had to say, now continue to work hard. They didn't really care. They didn't get involved in the hate and the vitriol. They just were moving forward in their lives. These are the people for whom It's the Economy, Stupid was written. Because how do you reach those voters? How do you let those voters know that you are doing a good job for the country? Well, it's pretty easy. Is there more money in their paychecks than there was under the last president? Are there more jobs available than there were under the last president? Can they expect a possible raise? Can they start looking for a job that's better than the job they have while they still have their job? Under Obama, none of those things were possible. People were desperately clinging to crappy jobs out of fear that that was the only job they were going to get. How's it going, Lori? Welcome back to the jail-free society. So, when you start to see jobs numbers like President Trump is coming out with today, you start to realize how hard the Democrats are going to have it. Because President Trump not only is speaking directly to his base on Twitter every single day, not only is he reaching out and doing great things for our veterans, doing great things for our foreign policy, doing great things for our history, pardoning Jack Johnson. Come on, you could get those mixed up too. How's it going? Oh, see, Fred's in lockdown. He had to send his Fen Patriot. Yeah. So, President Trump speaks not only to us, but he speaks directly every time we have a great jobs number, every time the economy goes up, every time he takes a regulation down that opens up, and this tax cut, which we're going to talk about. Every single time he makes one of these economic moves that moves the economic needle up, he speaks directly to those voters and gets the vote. Yep. Economy's still, the Dow is still at 24,624. Up another 200 points today. Probably on those job numbers. But the stock market, if you take a look at the 5-year mark, it's so great. I love looking at the Dow charts now. I love looking at them because it's like it's going along. You know, I'll just do a demonstration on the paper here. It's going along, and then something happens. What? See, here's what happens. Here's what's awesome. Greatest president ever, exactly. So it's going along. The stock market. This is all Obama. Kind of. It's not. It's flat. It's down. It's up. It's da-da-da. And then 2017 happens, right? What happened here? That's President Trump. This is what happened here. Trump happened right there. Look what happened when Trump became president. The stock market, boom. Boom. And that stock market led to the ability of business owners to invest. Obama was a huge job killer, Mark. Huge job killer. President Trump is a job creator, and this is why. Because we've listened to politicians for years. I'm going to create jobs. We listened under Bush. Jobs created or saved. I don't even know what that is. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what saved jobs are. Nobody knows that. I challenge any economist anywhere to come along and say, well, this is how you define a saved job. Nobody knows. That's just some crap politicians say when they're not creating jobs, when their economy, not them, their economy is not creating jobs. President Trump's economy creating huge jobs, lots and lots of good quality jobs, and let's talk about why. One. Deregulation. It's the first thing that President Trump did when he got into office was begin the process of deregulating our business industries so that we could bring back the manufacturing, so that we could bring back our jobs, so that companies could have the boot of the government off their neck and could actually go about creating those jobs again. So important. Such an important thing in order to make sure that business can operate. Is you can't have the government with its economic foot on your neck, stopping you from creating jobs, holding you back, costing you fines, fees, licensing, all of this stuff. Now, what we've seen many a time, let me just explain. And it's very simple to understand how regulations are controlling and limiting not only the ability of our job creators to create jobs, but they're actually the tool by which crony capitalism exists. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy to see, and we've seen it again and again and again over many, many decades. This is exactly what happens. Big companies with lobbying organizations on K Street, which I could drive up anytime, just a few minutes away, go down, they lobby the government, they help write the regulations. So first off, they already have enough money to help write the regulations. The regulations that are charging the fees, charging the fines, all of this compliance and these regulations. The big companies get in there and they write it. And they write it in a way that their smaller competition, A, cannot keep up. Cannot keep up with the economy. I mean, we cannot keep up with the regulations and the cost compliance. That's the word I'm looking for. They make it so their smaller competition has a hard time. And by making the fines and fees such that, sure, a big major corporation can pay those fines and fees, but your smaller companies are not going to be able to afford those. So it effectively, by getting the big corporations in with their little fingers into the lobbying process, creating the regulations, it actually forces monopolies. Monopolies are created by government. They're not created by market conditions. Market conditions do not create monopolies on their own. The only way you create a monopoly is you get government to manipulate the way business is done. Because in any free market system, say, okay, here's the Sharpie company. They make Sharpies, all right? Now, if I come along and my name is Soupy Sharp, you know, because I try to get the name in there because I'm competing with Sharpie. And if I make a better pen, if my Sharpie is darker, it lasts longer. I can use it and leave the cap off for an hour and a half and it still put the cap back on. Boom. Still works great. Or if my Sharpie is half the price but just as good, Sharpie is going to lose business to me, right? So what happens? Big companies go up, they lobby, they say, oh, well, we want you to have a license to make markers. You got to have a license to make markers. Oh, and we want to make sure that the ink is safe. So we have to regulate the ink. We have to regulate the ink. We have to make sure that you pay a certain amount of money to make sure that you have the piece of paper that says you've regulated your ink, that you've used safe ink. So you have to have an inspection company come in and inspect the factory. Well, now, Suzy Sharp pens, we got all these costs. We're a new startup company. We can't afford all these costs. It's ridiculous. And then they come in and they go, oh, you know what? Just phone call. You know what? We have to have OSHA regulations in the factory. All your factory workers have to have rubber mats to stand on while they're making the pens. They got to have that. So you got to have all of these things. Now I'm talking thousands of dollars of cost. I'm looking at my bottom line. I'm like, crap, I lost money this year. Not because I didn't make a better pen, which I did, but because I had to pay for all of these rules that the government has imposed on my company. So guess what happens? Guess what happens? See, thank you, Rich. Suzy Sharp Markers, we go out of business because we can't afford all these costs. I can't keep up. You know who stays in business? Sharpie. Sharpie stays in business because they can afford to pay all these costs. Now, that's an imaginary example. You want a real life example? British Petroleum and the oil leaks that went on down in the Gulf Coast right here in this country not that long ago. Because the British Petroleum Company was able to pay the fines when they were violating our safety and regulation codes, our environmental laws, and what they needed to do to protect the environment. The inspectors came in. The inspectors came in and said, you're not doing it. You're not following the rules. No, we're going to fine you. And here's what BP did. They're like, all right, how much? There you go. Here you go, government. Oh, wait, how much more? There you go, government. And they kept doing business however they liked, with no regard for regulation, with no regard for safety, with no regard for our natural resources. And what happened? Their violation of those safety rules caused a huge oil leak. Huge oil leak. All this damage. But why were they able to get away with it? They were able to get away with it because of this exact principle I'm talking about, which is if how you are regulating companies is through the fines and fees that you charge them when they violate the regulations that the companies themselves help create, all you are doing is just increasing the cost of doing business. They're happy to write the checks. They don't follow the rules, but the little guys who can't afford to write the checks have to follow the rules. Those rules become prohibitive to conducting business, and the only people who remain, the only companies who remain are the major corporations who can afford the costs. And yes, work smart. They totally do pass that cost on to consumers. Yes, Brittany. Is it exactly the same with hiring illegals? Major corporations can do it because if they get caught, they have lawyers to say, oh, we didn't know, da-da-da-da-da. We'll pay the fines, we'll pay the fees. Bada bing, bada boom. They go on with their business. This is how crony capitalism got established in our country, and most small businesses suffer. The smaller the business, the more regulations make it suffer. And that's how it's gone. Now, this is why the first thing my president did, ended these regulations, started cutting back the regulations, started cutting back these prohibitive government controls, how's it going, Diane, put in place by crony capitalists. I know, right, Chris? Put in place by crony capitalists. I know, I can teach my booty off. I'm telling you what. Put in place by crony capitalists, gone. President Trump started taking them away. Started executive order. Day of the inauguration. President Trump, do you solemnly swear? Hand on the Bible. Boom. Yes, I do. Da 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 da. Get in the. Let's go over to the limo. Hey, you got that deregulation executive order you want me to sign? And companies started being able to do business again. We've seen since the president's inauguration the effects of that loosening of regulation, and that is in part what is able to bring back our jobs, bring back our manufacturing, bring back our small business. Small businesses are the engine of the economy. They create more jobs than any large company does. So I was able to start bringing those back. Step number one. Okay? What did my president do? What happened next? Well, what are we going to talk about next? Because it went on what my president did. Because really the next thing he did was create economic enthusiasm. Economic enthusiasm is really the second thing my president created. because he got those regulations up. The scuttlebutt started being spread around Wall Street. Regulations are off. This president is serious. Donald Trump is a businessman. He knows what he's doing. He's going to do some amazing things for our country. And so, what happened? The stock market started going up. The stock market started going, we kind of like this guy. There's some hope. There's some optimism. And we started to see an increase in stock trade, an increase in stock prices. Stock revenue started going up. Companies started to see more investment in their company, because that's what the stock market is. The stock market is investing in a company. When you buy stock, you're investing in a company. You're actually giving capital to that company to do more with their business. Now, sure, the value of that stock is going up. And as the company continues to do better, your value of stock is continuing to go up. But you are taking capital and you're putting it in the hands of a business temporarily while they do some amazing things with it. And then you're going to get back your value plus the added value of the good things they did with your money. That's the stock market. That's how it works. That's the whole principle of the stock market. I invest money in these publicly traded companies so I, as a random individual, can invest. And it becomes exactly what Chris says. It becomes an engine and feeds on itself. The growth of the stock market put money into companies. The companies go, wow, we got capital. We can finally put that new factory up. We can finally do those improvements to our machinery, which we needed to do. We can finally hire those extra workers that we needed, that we know will increase capacity. And so we're going to be able to make our product faster. We're going to be able to get more product out to market. We're going to be able to launch that new product where we need to hire a whole bunch of new people to make it. This is what happens as the stock market goes up. So businesses, they're deregulated. They're excited about that. They're deregulated. And they have capital from the economic enthusiasm created by this president who knows what he's doing in business, who understands how to stimulate the economy from a business perspective. So we got two things that are making the economy great. Already, out the gate. We're talking January 2017. Out the gate. Yeah, pop back in and pop back out, Victoria, if that helps. Facebook doesn't like me to tell you stuff, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Then what happened? Now we'll talk about these tax cuts. Because one of the things that was so suppressing the American economy for so long was a ridiculously high business tax. We talked about it again and again. Us wonks talking about it constantly. I know you guys got really annoyed of us talking about it because we were constantly talking about it. We have such a high business tax in this country, we would say. We can't compete with other companies. That's why jobs and manufacturing are leaving the country. Remember when Obama said we just have to accept that manufacturing is not going to be a thing in the United States? And the era of manufacturing in the United States was over? Remember when that idiot said that? And us wonks were like, why? Why is that? Just lower the taxes, we said. Just lower the business taxes, we said. We're chasing our business out with regulation compliant costs, with low economic enthusiasm, and with extraneously high business taxes. Thank you, Debbie. We knew what was chasing our jobs out of the market. We knew what was chasing our jobs overseas. We knew why China and all these other countries were stealing our jobs, building factories, and factories were closing here in the United States and people were being put out of work. We knew why. Yeah, thank you, Pamela. You're right. You never tire of it. Because, wow, small business taxes are a pain in the butt when you're a small business owner. Employment taxes, sales taxes. Oh, my gosh, the sales taxes. Not to mention federal taxes, all of these taxes. Taxes, fees, paperwork. Spend way too much time downtown at the stupid office to get forms you don't even understand because it takes a lawyer to run a small business just to comply with the state. or the federal government. So, we said for years you need to lower the business tax. And they complained. And they won. The left, no, businesses are making too much money, which they weren't. This is why they weren't hiring anybody. Businesses are just greedy corporations. We need to tax them more. Then they're all going to go overseas. And we're going to lose more of our jobs. But Phil, you need to learn some facts, okay? You need to learn some facts, baby. I'm going to send you to Blocktown so you can go to class over there in Blocktown. Hopefully, we got to send, you know what we got to do? We got to start sending some teachers, like some emissaries and, you know, like missionaries to Blocktown so that they can learn stuff over there. So when they get out, when they get older and they want to move out of Blocktown, they have an education, because we're just sending them away to Blocktown with no hope of ever learning. No hope of ever learning the basic ideas of some companies are going to need to do business over. He had asked me when Trump's businesses are going to come back from overseas. Well, for one, as we continue to improve the economy and make it easier to conduct business here, to manufacture things here, more and more businesses can in fact come back overseas that would otherwise need to be overseas because of the cost of creating things. Fabric, fashion, clothing, for example, all of these things very difficult to produce here in the United States because of the costs involved. So there are a lot of things where the business owner, the best bet is to produce them overseas. But see, if we don't have good trade agreements, which we'll talk about next, and if we're not controlling how companies overseas are stealing our trade secrets or manipulating our international businesses, then we're not doing, then we don't have that process. Okay, then we don't have safety over there. So even if we have to go over and do business in a foreign country, we still are putting our business at risk. It's very difficult. And worse, when our business economy is so rough for even Americans to do business here, we don't have companies from overseas. Hello. We don't have companies from overseas coming here to do business, which is one of the reasons that our economy struggled so much under President Bush and President Obama. It wasn't just American companies and made in the USA that was suffering. It was foreign investors who were reducing their investments here in the United States. It was foreign companies who were not bringing their companies here. We weren't competing in the global market. How's it going, Hamza? We weren't competing in the global market. Our business climate was no longer competing. Scotland was doing great. It was bringing businesses hand over fist. China was doing great. Other countries were doing great, bringing foreign businesses into their country. We weren't. And when a foreign company comes in and sets up a factory, 9 times out of 10, they don't ship a lot of their people overseas to come do the work here in the factories. They hire local workers. Why didn't companies come here? Well, because to hire a local worker became prohibitively expensive for the company. So they went to countries where the tax base and the regulatory costs were lower. So when you hired that worker, that local worker, you were able to afford to pay the employment taxes. You were able to afford to pay the insurance costs, the compliance costs, the OSHA regulations, all of these regulations and costs and taxes and fees. You were able to afford them. So critical. It wasn't affordable. Then Trump comes in. Obama goes away. Trump comes in. Boom. How's it going, Pam? And these costs start going down. So companies start coming back. Start building here again. We see foreign investment. We see domestic investment. And we started to see our manufacturing come back. Now, when you take the tax rate, when you lower that corporate tax rate, which we did amazingly, because we couldn't get repeal and replace passed. That was difficult. I'm Suzzanne. Nice to meet you. I'm Suzzanne Monk, host of Trump Talk US. So, how's it going, Tim? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It became much more. Yeah, see, that's Victoria. We'll talk about tariffs in a second. We're going to talk about tariffs in a second. So the taxes came down. The individual taxes came down. And the corporate taxes came down. So you're paying less corporate tax. Great for a business. But every business owner knows this, when your individual taxes go down, the cost to the owner also goes down. Because when you pay your taxes, okay, when you pay your income taxes and Social Security, all this stuff, you pay and your boss pays 50-50. So it costs a business owner when your individual taxes are high. If individual tax rates are high, it costs the business owner money. That's a fact. That's just the situation that it is. So once we brought those taxes down, now we have deregulation. Now we have stock market investment. Now we have lower taxes. We're now at the trifecta of economic growth, my friends. The trifecta of economic growth. Which is good. 3 legs are good. Hamza, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Hamza says the most important thing for business and other facilities is peace. Am I right? Yes. Well, we're going to talk about the 4th thing. Because it's great to stand on 3 legs. Deregulation, strong stock market, low taxes. It's great to stand on that. You can stand on that. But you know what's better? 4 legs. You know what's more stable for an economy? 4 legs. What is the 4th leg? Well, Trump immediately jumped into the seat of negotiator-in-chief and began the process of negotiating individual trade deals and handling foreign policy in a way that brought confidence around the globe. We saw what he did in Saudi Arabia, which changed the face of our planet by going and speaking to Saudi Arabia, flying out of Saudi Arabia for the first time, a plane that flew out of Saudi Arabia directly into Israel, directly into Jerusalem to meet with Bibi Netanyahu. He started to begin the process of talking to China, dealing with Russia, of opening up our own energy resources. We're going to talk about that next. But he started to begin with Mexico, with Canada. We started to begin the trade deals. He started to begin to threaten the tariffs. See, he's been talking about these tariffs for a long time. These countries had many months. When they tell you President Trump doesn't care and he just is throwing tariffs willy-nilly on people, that's the biggest load of crap I've ever heard. Because we all know, from day one, President Trump was already talking about tariffs. From the campaign, he was already talking about it. And as soon as he put his hand on the book, and he signed himself in, said, yeah, I'm president. He began the discussion of, look, trading partners in Canada, in China, in Mexico, we're going to have to renegotiate our trade deals. That's going to happen, you guys. Other countries. Just FYI. Now, if you want those negotiations to go smoothly, you can start treating our country fairly when it comes to trade. But we, as America, are not going to be your patsies anymore. And it started from day one. In fact, it started from before day one. So Mexico, Canada, the EU, China, all of these nations had over a year and a half to start treating the United States more economically fairly. They chose, in many cases, not to do it. Didn't do it. Mexico especially. Mexico just sat over there and lipped off and sent us more MS-13. We had to constantly wrangle Mexico. It didn't want to involve itself with it. It didn't care. We don't care. We don't care what we're doing to you, America. Here's some more criminal illegals. This was Mexico. And we're not paying for your wall. And we were like, oh, okay. You ain't paying for the wall, huh? All right. Exactly, Bandy. Exactly. So President Trump began the negotiations. He started threatening that we were going to renegotiate NAFTA. We haven't even begun to renegotiate NAFTA, you guys. We are merely just imposing new steel tariffs on raw materials, and we are using these raw materials tariffs to begin the negotiations of trade, renegotiation, and bilateral agreements across the globe. We're doing some great things in our negotiations with China. We've seen some real capitulation and balance occurring in China, between China and the United States. We still got to work on it. We got to keep our foot on the gas. President Trump has to continue on it every single day, but we're starting to see those negotiations and a strong foreign policy have real impacts on the economy in this country. Because now we see in the world, businesses and companies are aware we're going to have a peaceful world. President Trump isn't going to fly off the handle and run into, invade Jordan or something. Unlike Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, who kept invading countries, and Bush, who invaded countries. We're not invading anybody. We're basically just cleaning up the messes that Bush and Obama left, handling our business and negotiating fair, free trade deals for our country and for our trading partners. That is a win-win. So now we're talking about 4 things. We deregulated. We had economic enthusiasm. We lowered the taxes. And we've started to renegotiate the trade deals. And a strong foreign policy that led to those things. Okay? Now, we got the 5th leg. The 5th leg that's actually still coming down the pipe, you guys. This is still growing. We've barely even begun to see the results of the 5th leg of President Trump's economic strategy, and that is to open up the American energy market. Drill, baby, drill. Access are nearly infinite. So vast resources of oil, shale gas, coal. The tools of energy are the tools of business. If I can't turn the lights on in my factory and run those machines at an affordable cost, it's going to cost me too much to run my business. Low energy prices, low gas prices, low prices when it comes to shipping my goods, my Suzy pins, and the truck driver shows up, and I said, I need you to get all these Suzy pins to Walmart. And he goes, okay. He loads them in the truck. And then he goes down the road and he looks at his gas gauge and he's like, I'm going to need some diesel. Pulls over. When that diesel costs that truck driver less, he's able to charge me a better price for shipping my Suzy pens across the country. That means Suzy pens cost less to the consumer when they hit the shelves. The consumer makes money, saves money, and makes money. Saved money is made money. The truck driver makes a little more money, puts more money in his pocket. The business owner keeps a little more money in his pocket. Everybody's keeping a little more money in their pocket. They have money to spend on other things. The economy grows. And this is what we have happening today under President Trump, you guys. This is what's happening. Deregulation, economic enthusiasm, lower taxes, fair trade, energy boom. And that's just begun because President Trump has just begun to open up our national lands for oil development. He's just begun to open up our oil production. The deregulations have just been starting to take effect because when I am an oil rigger and I go, you know what? I own land. I know there's oil under there. I got to find the oil. I got to get the oil out of the ground. I got to ship the oil to market. All right. I'm going to need some riggers. I'm going to need some scientific study to figure out best where to drill. I'm going to need to hire some, I'm going to need to get some equipment. Let's get this started. It's going to take several months to get that oil rig pumping oil and getting it out onto the market. It takes time. We've just begun to see the ramp up of the American energy market, and a beautiful and amazing thing it will be as we go forward. All of these fronts that President Trump is working on. He's still deregulating. He hasn't stopped deregulating. We're still cutting back regulations. We've stopped doing it so much in the executive order. All that still happens. We are now doing it within the agencies themselves. We've put people in charge of things like the EPA and the FDA and the USDA that are going to cut back unnecessary regulations. So we're still saving money there. The enthusiasm in the stock market is still growing. We've had a consistent, strong 24,000, popping up to 25,000 on a regular basis. We've held this height for several months. It's not a bubble. It's an increase. Taxes are still, we still have, the effect of those taxes are still actually impacting. And we can, in fact, suggest to see tax reductions in the future. Exactly, Barbara. Our trade deals have just begun to be formulated across the globe. That's what these tariffs are. These tariffs are trade deal negotiations. When President Trump starts implementing tariffs, these are trade deal negotiations. We should even stop calling them tariffs. We should start calling them trade deal negotiations. So that's still happening. And the energy boom, the energy market also still happening. Now, we need to get this sixth leg taken care of. We need to take care of the healthcare costs in this country, because that is going to bring down the cost of doing business for companies that are struggling. We need tort reform, which we know is a critical part of impacting our medical costs. We need to reform the way lawyers can sue businesses, because they're out of control. You know it and I know it. That sixth leg hasn't even begun. So there's so much growing, there's so much winning to be had. This is why the only thing they can do is complain that Trump issued a jobs report, hinted at a jobs report, 69 minutes. 69 minutes before it was supposed to be released. That's the only thing the news can complain about, because they can't complain about President Trump and the economy, because he's doing a great job with the economy. And the left is going to lose. And why? It's the economy, stupid. There you go. I also want to talk about a little bit before we go here, before we're going to log out. My president is a genius. Have I told you President Trump is a genius? And he is troll-in-chief. He is the troller-in-chief. And he is now trolling the Democrats so hard, it almost makes me laugh and cry at the same time. It's so hilarious and yet brilliant. You don't even know how to respond. So President Trump is talking about issuing pardons. You know, he's been issuing pardons, even retroactive pardons. He's been issuing pardons. He is talking about pardoning Martha Stewart and Rod Blagojevich. Now, I could not be more in support of these two decisions. These are great decisions. Martha Stewart was railroaded because she was a woman, who dared to succeed in the business world. Dared to succeed in the business world. She was imprisoned. We saw the sweater she made in prison. She was imprisoned for insider trading, the same thing that every one of these goonballs down on Capitol Hill do every single day. Awesome. I know, isn't that a freeing thing, Pam? It's like taking off your bra at the end of the day. You're like, oh, I'm so relaxed. You're like, you come home in your house. You're like, oh, I can finally talk about Trump and no one's going to give me that look. Same feeling. Same feeling. So Martha Stewart was unfairly treated and unfairly targeted because she had made enemies. Because the people in power didn't like Martha Stewart. And so she went to jail for what many, many other men and business owners had done many, many, many times before. Tragic. Trump's going to pardon her. Talking about pardon her. He's also talking about pardoning Rod Blagojevich. Now, this is the biggest troll against the Democrats my president has come up with in so long. OMG. In Chicago, this is a big deal. This Blago situation was a big deal. I know it was a big deal everywhere, but nowhere else like Chicago was it a big deal. Because Rod Blagojevich, again, only did the same thing that every single other Democratic candidate, politician, leader, lawmaker had ever done. And that was make deals. Talk about, you give me something, I give you something. And so, when Obama's seat became open, Brittany, because it opens up, I'm going to answer a good question. Brittany says, what good does it do to pardon someone who's already served their time? Well, one, Blago has not finished serving his time. So, there's that. But two, by pardoning someone, you actually open up and you remove the limitations on their future ability to do business. What you don't know is that when you've been to prison, particularly if you've committed some sort of felonious act or have been accused of felonious act, you are limited from doing certain kinds of business, getting certain kinds of licenses. Your life is already continued to be limited. We don't just serve your time and then you go back into the community and everything's fine. You don't. So there is that. And what Debbie says, very much so, to clear their name. To clear your name from the wrongdoing. But third and most important, and this is what President Trump, I think, is actually doing by making these pardons. He's saying these actions were wrong. It was wrong to put Martha Stewart in jail. You were wrong then. Doesn't matter. She didn't deserve to go to jail for doing what everybody else did. You were wrong to put Blago in jail for doing what everybody else did. When you know the whole reason they put Blago in jail is because they wanted to get rid of him. They didn't want to have to play his political... They didn't want him coming up in the political process anymore. So they got rid of him by charging him with what everybody else did. So what my president has done is go, oh, Obama, you couldn't handle your own business. You couldn't fix the problems you had in your own world. All right, Democrats. Well, I'm going to pardon some of your own because you were wrong when you did these things. This was crony capitalism. This was crony politics. It's not good. And we're going to fix it. Now, of course, they're all mad. They're all mad because President Trump is talking about pardoning people. Yes, thank you, Brittany. That's very true. Their convictions were politically motivated, so they pardoned them, and that's fair. And it takes back that political motivation, and it goes, you know what? Wrong. We're not playing this political motivated game. How's it going, Steve? How's it going? Welcome. And you're right, Lori. Rod Blagojevich's sentence was ridiculous. It kept him away from his family for something that every politician in Chicago has done, and they all know stuff. And that, you are correct, Pam. In some cases, they can't even vote until they are pardoned. That is absolutely correct. Now, we're going to see what happens. We're going to see who Trump ends up pardoning and who he doesn't end up pardoning. But by sending these messages that he is willing to pardon these individuals, like Martha Stewart, like Rod Blagojevich, who's already pardoned Dinesh D'Souza, by sending these messages and letting folks know, hey, President Trump, he's quick with the pardon pen. So, you know what? If the left goes after you for telling the truth, for sharing some facts, I got you. Yeah. And this is what's actually going to make it more and more possible for people who have otherwise been frightened and put in a state of fear by the Democratic agenda, by these crony politics. Yeah, obviously, Brittany, there's no other way. Insider trading is the main way they make money. President Trump is letting potential testifiers, potential witnesses to the government collusion that is against him and tried to ruin the 2016 election and take it away from us, the Trump voters. He's letting them know, hey, go ahead. You'll be cool. I'll take care of it. And we're going to get some real testimony out of this. It's all a fantastic card game that I just can't watch enough of. I just cannot watch enough of my president continue to improve the economy, continue to beat the Democrats at their own game, and continue to out this ridiculous witch hunt for what it is, a coup against my president, President Donald J. Trump. We're not standing for it. We are not standing for it, from my friends. And this year is gonna be great. This year is gonna be so great watching all of this unfold. So we're gonna see what happens. We're gonna see what happens. But as we move closer and closer to the election, closer and closer to the midterms, and we see more and more happening with the president with regards to all of the things we've talked about today, you can see he's playing a very big game, a very big strategy of winning. Yep. And we are going to keep America great. And we are going to keep making America great again. And Trump Talk US is going to be back again tomorrow at 2 o'clock to talk about more news. Because that's what we do here, folks. We talk about more news. And that is our show. Let's get a little bit of this going on.
The American dream is dead.
Thank you for tuning in to Trump Talk US, you guys.
I will bring it back. Bigger and better and stronger than ever before. And we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You can, of course, pick up my 2 books, MAGA Manual, The Trumpers 2018 Midterm Strategy Guide, on Amazon. Search my name, Suzzanne Monk, 2 Z's. You can also get Rules for Trumpers. Great little strategy book on how to turn all their little games against them. I am also, as you all know, chair of Stand With POTUS PAC, home of the MAGA Candidate Database. Love you too, Diane. Oh, 2 hours. Oh my gosh, I would never have a voice. Thank you, Pamela. So if you get a chance, go to standwithpotus.com. Check out what we're doing. There we are, of course, as always, raising funds to continue to make sure this movement is possible. Supporting groups like MOAR, like our Trump clubs across the country. Heck, we'd like to support more groups like Overpasses. We'd like to support a lot of people. Got to raise money to do that. How are we going to do that? MAGA Summit, MAGASummit2018.com. Here in D.C., September 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, right around MOAR. We're doing some great things with that. Go and take a look at it, folks. We got so much going on. I got more work to do when I get off the show here. So we're gonna keep doing it. But feel good today, you guys, because we're winning. We're winning. And we don't have Hillary Clinton. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for reminding us. I'm Suzzanne Monk. Thank you for tuning in, you guys. As always, this is your girl, Trumping out. See you tomorrow.